Welcome to the Writing a Resume session. In this session, you'll learn how to get your resume recognized and learn what professionals look for in a resume. This session is brought to you by Junior Achievement of East Tennessee. Presenting this morning, we have Johnny Pope, Recruiting Specialist, Internships, and Flex Staffing with Discovery. Thanks for joining us this morning, Johnny.
Good morning. It's good to be here too as well. So thank you, students, for having me this morning too as well. And as the team mentioned, I am a university recruiter at Discovery. So if you're not familiar with Discovery, they are in your backyard. I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee. So that's Food Network. So you may have seen TikTok videos of making cool things on TikTok, cool food items, and HGTV too as well. So all of the home building shows that probably your parents watch. That's the company that I'm a part of too as well. And in short, I'm a university recruiter, so I essentially work with students all the time, and I help students get jobs, if not at my company, helping them get into the entertainment industry. So I'm happy to be here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to also share my screen in regards to how to properly write a resume. And we understand right now that life is changing for you. I know I'll be speaking to eighth graders and also high school students will be seeing this video as well. And you probably have heard from your parents, right? You probably have heard from your teachers, what it is that you want to do when you grow up, and that's becoming more of a reality as you progress through school. And so, writing a resume is just one of those things that you'll encounter as you look for new opportunities that are going to impact your life. And we know that can be scary, and we definitely want to help you with that transition in life. So, with that being said, I want to share my screen and then I'll start the presentation for you. So, if you can see my screen, and it looks like, yeah, I just got the notification there. A resume essentially is, a quick summary about what it is that the skills that you have to offer, for an organization. So that may be, for a summer job for, your eighth grade students. It may be for a volunteer opportunity, or for high schoolers that transition over to college and now they're looking for their first opportunity. And a lot of times, when you're interviewing, you'll speak to either a recruiter like myself, or you'll speak to what we call hiring manager or a supervisor, somebody who is responsible for hiring that person into the job. And so we put together a nice little tidbit for you students, and you'll actually be able to have this one sheeter to take home with you and be able to review any time that you encounter having to craft a resume. So I want to call out this first line here where recruiters like myself, when we're looking at resumes, we read them fairly quickly because, again, it is a snapshot of your skill set. And we read resumes from top to bottom. And so making it easy to read is very important. And so we want to keep it, nice, clean. And we like to make this joke too as well, pretty classy when it comes to your resumes. And we want to make sure that everything is legible. So your font selection is super important when creating your resume for the first time too as well. And we want to make sure that it's easy for the recruiter or the hiring manager to digest. First and foremost, the recruiter should know who you are, right? You are who you say you are. And your contact information should be at the very top of your resume too as well. So for example, when you look at my resume, you'll see, hey, my name is Johnny Pope. You see that I live in Knoxville, Tennessee too as well. I'm not traveling maybe from a far distance if the job requires me to be in the area. And then there's relevant contact information too as well, such as you did well with the job interview, and we actually want to make that phone call to be able to offer you that opportunity. My contact information, such as phone number and an email address, is prompted onto the resume too as well. Something else that I wanted to call out, and this may be new to you as well, is your resume should be in reverse chronological order. So essentially, what that means, and I know that should be self-explanatory, but if it's not, your most current thing that you're doing in life should be at top of the resume. So again, if I'm presenting an opportunity, going for an opportunity, me working at Discovery, is going to be the most recent opportunity that you see at the top, along with other jobs that I've held prior to working at Discovery. So again, this can be applicable whether you're actually going to a job interview, or if you're taking a volunteer opportunity, because I understand I am talking to middle school students, you want to be able to just speak to that. And then, as you can see on the left hand side, we have kind of a thumbs up of what to include, right? So achievements and not just responsibility. So I want to assume that everyone has not worked at some point in time. So how can I make my experience relevant to what the job is asking from me too as well. So if a job requires you to be a great team leader, I'll take in consideration something that I used to do. I played basketball pretty much my entire middle school, high school, and I played basketball in college too as well. And so one of the skills that I inherited while doing that is being a great team player, being a captain, right? Being able to solve difficult problems, right? Understanding what the coach is asking me from a complex play standpoint, and be able to deliver on those things too as well. So you can, if you play on the basketball team and you want to be able to translate you being a team leader during your interview process on your resume or on that volunteer job, you can put that on your resume, and that can be something that the employer walks away and says, "Okay, I understand how you would be a great fit for our opportunity that we have." Another option that we have here is do quantify your experience, right? So again, talking to students, you guys may be volunteering or crafting things. So if you did something that created a big quantified result for it. I came up with a process that sold X amount of cookies because of that process. Then that shows to the employer again that you were able to not only solve a complex problem and apply it there too, but you're able to show what we call a return on investment. So that may be in form of revenue to the school. And so we just want to make sure that that's called out pretty clearly. We recommend, as far as for when we're speaking to students, to leave off objectives unless it explains gaps, in your resume or career path. So again, bringing it down a level. We understand, for example, when students apply for our internships, that they are college students and they are looking for experience in the media industry. So a lot of times we ask for students not to include objectives. I know other companies may ask for that, but as far as for in regards to our company, I just wanted to call that out, but also not take away that objectives can be useful when you're applying for other positions. And this is probably the most important takeaway here, which is keep your resume to one page. We definitely want to make sure that it's straight to the point, and you're able to take advantage of the time that you've been given in regards to talking to the employer. And that is also a great segue to be able to talk about what to include when you're looking at a resume. So, again, assuming that I'm talking to high school students that may be transitioning to college as well, links and portfolios, anything that you can call out that's relevant. So, I'll bring it down a level. If you have, an Instagram page and you're wanting to, maybe be something in social media, having that link to your Instagram page is going to be very important. Having that link to your WordPress page, having that link to your TikTok page, because we're in media, right? We look for people who can create cool little dances or things that are applicable to our job as well. So it's important to be able to include that. Uh, Again, another specific call out here, which is irrelevant education in details like high school GPA or SAT. Again, speaking to our company as well, it's important that when students are applying, that is not the biggest concern for us. A lot of times we know that students are currently enrolled in school and they're looking to intern with us. However, I think it's important to state that if a job posting or a manager or somebody that you're talking to has a GPA requirement, such as for something that you're applying for that may help you get a scholarship, you want to include it at that point. So again, it's not considered irrelevant if they are asking for your GPA or they're asking for your high school transcript, SAT scores, or ACT scores too as well. Um, we also want to make sure that all the dates are correct as much as possible. So, I've been working at my current organization for the past 7 years. So I want to make sure that that reflects that I'm working from the time I started, and then hyphenating that to showing that it is actually a current role that I'm still on to as well. And then we want to try to fill as much white space as possible. Um, and as I mentioned here, and you can see with this one sheet, we try to take advantage of as much white space that's available, to the paper that we're using, or the electronic form that we're using. And then finally, I thought it was pretty cool to still include emojis, right? So our thumbs down, right? What are the things that we say are not, great for resumes? So pictures are not, a big thing that creates an advantage for you for resumes. A lot of times, people will be able to find you online as well through your social media, handles that you have, and then, other things that you might have been involved. So it's not something that's necessarily a need. And you are all in school, right? So we want to make sure that we limit grammatical errors as well. So it is very helpful that once you start creating your resume, that you talk to your teachers and you talk to your guidance counselors and you talk to your parents and even their friends and see if somebody can take a look and just get an extra set of eyes on your document, just like you would hopefully for like a school report or anything that you're doing too as well. And for quick tips, and I'll go through these pretty quickly because these are laid out, and that way we can make room for questions as well at the very end. You want to make sure that you're calling out keywords from the job description. So if the job description is asking for you to be able to, I don't know, speak Spanish or something very complex, you want to make sure that somewhere in the resume that you're presenting, that you're able to call out that, hey, I am fluent in this language. Maybe I'm not fluent in this language. Acronyms, again, you want to make sure that if you have acronyms, just like if you were writing a research paper, you want to make sure that you can call out those acronyms and not assume that the manager or the company knows what that acronym means. And then we recommend saving your resume in a PDF, and we're actually looking at a PDF right now. That way, the form is not altered in any way, it being a Word document. And then also that is easy for you to pull up. So you can save your PDF with your first and your last name. And so if you look here, I even have the PDF where it says Knox County resume tips and tricks, right? That's just a way for me to be able to pull the screen, pull the document pretty easily too as well. And then finally, which again is I would say a second big call out, is have multiple versions of a document when you're applying for jobs. And so as I was looking for the opportunity that I was currently in, I knew that I wanted to be a recruiter, right? Because I create great relationships pretty easily, and I enjoy helping people find jobs too as well. However, I had different versions of my resume as a recruiter. And so when I applied for this job specifically, they were looking for somebody, obviously, first and foremost, who could hire people and who had experience as a recruiter. However, they wanted somebody too, as well, who had experience with talking to what we can call early careers. So that's essentially somebody who is fairly young in the workforce, 1 to 2 years experience or no years of experience, and looking to get their first job. And so I had a resume broken out that was different for this job that I applied for. Whereas another job might ask for me to have experience, 5 or 6 years experience in hiring, IT professionals. And so I want to make sure that I have that as a call out and that as a different resume too as well. That has a different objective statement, so on and so forth. So with that, I think this is a great place to stop because it's a lot of information as well. And I would love to be able to take questions from the students to make sure that this is relevant to them as well and not too high level. So thank you again for letting me present.
Thanks, Tony. That was some great advice. We just have a few questions for you. The first is, can you tell us a little bit about your day-to-day activities as a recruiter?
So again, as I mentioned, I have the pleasure of working with students all day. So my job is fairly fun. actually tomorrow I'll be attending a university fair with Penn State University. We'll be talking anywhere to 700 to 800 students at a time. But I'm essentially doing what you see now, which is talking to students, right, helping them with their resume formatting as they're applying for opportunities with Discovery. Also, I am helping students figure out, if Discovery is the best fit for them as well. And so there's a lot of activations that I do on campus, like I'm doing now. The other part of my job is okay, you're being hired, and we'll have students this coming June as well, not on site because of the pandemic, unfortunately, but remotely. And so another part of my job is laying out the day-to-day activities similar to your teachers, of what it is going to be, set curriculum. So it may be fun things such as we have Shark Week, right? Hopefully you've seen a video from Shark Week, those cool slow motion videos of sharks jumping out of the water. Our company is responsible for that content. And so Shark Week is happening. So, we have students that may be involved in the production of Shark Week. We have students who may participate in some of the fun company activities that are around promoting Shark Week too, as well. So again, I just lay out a lot of the day-to-day opportunities. And I know they mentioned also that I handle flex staffing, and not so many words, that is what we considered contract work. So we essentially hire individuals that are not a part of Discovery. However, they are hired to help Discovery put out content or any other deliverable that is asked from them too as well. So that's what my day to day looks like, and I've been doing that again for the past 7 years, and it's evolved and each and every day. And I love working with students. If you can't tell by now.
Great. Our next question is, what if I don't have any work experience yet? What can I put on my resume?
Yeah. So again, this is a question that I often encounter with our college students. Right. I've never had an internship. Right. I've literally been going to school, taking care of the most important thing. And so, if you've had any volunteer opportunities, and don't overlook something that you've done in the past that can be important to what it is that you're trying to do. If you volunteered at church, if you've helped babysit kids as well, if you've helped your parent, I don't know, they maybe own a business, you've helped them organize or create an inventory, you can add that information. And you called out an example of sports, right? I played sports growing up, right? How can you take the skills that you've learned in sports, right? You have to learn to be on time, right? So that's a part of discipline, right? You have to learn to communicate effectively. You're going to be working with brand new people each and every day. You have to learn to also be a good worker, right? So you want to have good sportsmanship, right? And so you can actually take those three skill sets that I've mentioned and be able to articulate that, if not on paper, right? Articulate that to the person that you're trying to be hired for too as well. So hopefully that answers your question.
We have another good question. What if I want to apply for a more creative job? Can my resume reflect that?
Yes, yes. It's important for creatives to show their creativity, and we say that all the time. So if you're somebody that's involved in graphic design or anything like that, I think it would be very important for your resume to show that, right? And so we have students who have that background, and their resumes are very flashy. In a sense, a lot of borders, right? A lot of color, right? Colors that I would have never considered for a resume as well. And then links, again, links to things that you are creating as well. I have the pleasure of having my own creative agency and stuff too as well, and we do videography and we do photo shoots. And so that's something where there's links to my work that speak to the things that we're creating. So yes, creatives can have creative resumes.
Great. Can you include references or people who can vouch for you in the resume?
So again, I want to call back out to what I had at the bottom of the one sheet that you guys will get as well is we recommend not including resumes unless it's specifically asked within the job posting. And a lot of companies are moving away from references just because of ethical reasons too as well. But if you do have healthy contacts and people that can vouch for you, because that is important as well. Again, look at the job description, and if it states that, good. Or if it comes up during the process of you interviewing, hey, do you have somebody who can pretty much vouch for you? Then at that time, present it. So hopefully that answers your question as well.
What kind of jobs are best for a resume?
What kind of jobs are best for a resume? Yeah. So, what kind of jobs are best for a resume would be, you're applying for, I don't know, my opportunity, right? You're applying to be brand new. We have brand new recruiter positions, right? And you're looking to go into the workforce at that point. That would be a great time to be able to create a resume. You may have um, opportunities where you're not necessarily creating a resume, but they're asking how does your skill set apply to things. So let's say you're applying for a summer job, right? And they want to understand what it is like from a skill set standpoint you have to bring to the table as well. Then that will be an opportunity to be able to create a resume as well. So they're very few and far between, and a lot of times they have to do with you actually going into the workforce. If you're going to college and you're going to trade school as well, there are going to be other things that they ask of you to be able to give you a scholarship. So if it's a scholarship, they may ask you to write an essay instead of writing a resume, right? They may ask for your GPA or your SAT score and stuff too as well. That's a form of understanding a skill that you're bringing to be hired or to receive something in return. So that's one example. And then the other example being you having to actually go into the workforce. And then you need to actually articulate your skill as a high school student that now needs a full time job.
We have a few more questions, Johnny. What are some of the soft skills that you look for as a recruiter?
Yeah, I think some of the soft skills that I look for as a recruiter, especially as a recruiter in the entertainment industry, is how easily somebody can plug into an environment and then being able to, have those good like interpersonal skills. That's very important in media because a lot of things in media are built off of relationships first. A company has to feel comfortable being able to pitch an idea to our company and then feel confident that we are being very inclusive of their thought process as we're creating content on their behalf and as we partner too as well. So I would say just work on that, work on getting out of your shell, right? I understand this social media world. Young kids are not as comfortable speaking right in front of a camera or standing up in class, but do those little things to be able to to bring out your personality even over video. Hopefully you feel my energy right now as we talk. Hopefully you learn something about me too as well, from the logo of my company to some of the records that I have in the background too as well. But ultimately, we look for that interpersonal stuff as well. How can they implement themselves and be able to be kind of disruptors in the culture that we're creating too as well. So I would say that's what I would speak to for Discovery's behalf.
Great. Johnny, would you be willing to share a little bit about your career path to the position that you have now?
Yeah. So my career path is an interesting one, and you'll find when you speak to recruiters, recruiting wasn't something that they planned on doing. So if I'm being honest, my plan was to play basketball, and that's all I thought about as a kid. Right, it was just I'm going to play basketball, and I was really good at also in IT. My father was in the Navy, and he built computers as well. And so that's something that I did growing up outside of playing sports. But eventually, I ended up after college serving in the military for 7 to 8 years in the United States Air Force for a while. And in that time, I doubled down on knowing that I could create relationships very well. During that time and being able to connect to people, and I enjoyed that. And so when I transitioned out of the military, I decided to be a recruiter. and I get to talk to people all day, and I get to be able to help people get jobs. And so I naturally did that for the next few years until I encountered Discovery and understood that Discovery, because I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee, was here as well, and it was a part of entertainment, and I loved the content they were producing. And again, I've been doing that for the past 7 years. I thoroughly enjoy what we have to offer as a company. I believe we're one of the best in the world. And then also, I feel like my thoughts and my ideas and things that I bring to the table while I'm working for the organization are being spotlighted too as well. And so it's been a pleasurable experience. So that's the short version of my story, because I know that we don't have that much time.
We do have a few more questions. Can I send my resume to a company even if they're not currently looking for employees, but I want to work for them?
Yeah, so one of the ways for you to send your resume, you wouldn't send it to the company, right? So, like when you're applying for a job, that's when you're communicating with the company. What I would say is you utilize your network when a company is not actively looking for people. So, you now know me. You now know that I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. You now know that I work for Discovery. And so, hopefully, through your school contacts, if you wanted to apply for a job at my company, and we weren't currently hiring for something that you're interested in, you would then send your documents. You would use your network, so your teachers, right, or whatever program you're attached to get in touch with me. And then at that point, I would get your document, and then we would even have a conversation so I can learn more about who you are, what it is that you want, and how we can match that too as well. And then as the opportunities become open, then that's when we would have a conversation again and say, hey, I think this would be a great fit for you. Let's have you apply for the opportunity and see if we can start the interview process with you too as well.
Our next question is, if I don't have many social skills, how can I make my resume more appealing?
Again, this is that part where your generation is very creative in a sense, right? And so we have the pleasure of when we interview students. One, I think it's important to do things that make your resume pop. So again, quantifying, something that you've done. I made X amount of money for this particular initiative. I volunteered for, this particular thing as well. And then also we do video interviews for our jobs, and so that is an extension of the resume. And so if you're able to exude your personality over the video interviews, that just helps when we're reviewing stuff. But if you don't have that luxury, again, you just want to make sure that your resume shows your passion. And when you read my resume speaks to my passion about diversity and inclusion, and about working with early careers or school age children and helping them find out what it is that they want to do in life, and then helping them secure that job too as well. So when you read my resume, I have action words that kind of pop out along with links to the things that I'm passionate about. And then if you're able to do something like this, a video interview, make sure you exude that too as well to the company.
Great. We have one last question. Besides my resume, do I need to send any other documents or a letter?
That's actually a great question too as well. So cover letters is something that you'll hear oftentimes, and if organization wants to see a cover letter is even shorter version of your resume, and it's a quick what we call elevator pitch about yourself, right? So if you got in the elevator, right, and you only had 2 floors to be able to talk to somebody very important, and that person could help you get a job, what would you say to them in that elevator, right? And so to answer your question, if a company asks for additional documents, they'll mention things such as cover letters at that point, along with your resume, or they'll ask for a document that has all of your references as well. So don't include it unless it's being asked from the job description or from the manager or from the company itself as you're going through the process.
Our time is up. We thank you so much, Johnny, for joining us, and thank you for tuning in to this session.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. And I look forward to doing this again. Bye, everyone.